The air was thick with dust, and the smell of old metal filled Liam's nose as he stepped into the alien stable for the first time. He was just a cleaner sent by the colony to help wash and care for the strange animals the aliens kept. But the moment he walked in, every other worker went quiet. One man grabbed his arm and whispered, "Whatever you do, don't go near Cage 9. Liam raised an eyebrow. "Why?" The man shook his head. "Because the thing in there has killed 5 caretakers already." Liam thought they were joking. He had seen all kinds of alien creatures since landing on this planet. Some looked scary but were harmless. Others looked cute but could bite off your hand. Still, he wasn't afraid. He needed this job. And he didn't believe in ghost stories. But as he passed Cage 9, he froze. Inside was a monster, at least 10 feet long. With thick fur like black smoke, it had glowing red eyes and claws as long as knives. The beast didn't move, but its eyes followed him. Slowly, like it was waiting. Just then, he felt someone watching him. He turned and saw her, an alien girl with dark blue skin and silver markings under her eyes. She stood in the shadows, silent. But her eyes were sharp. She didn't speak, just watched him like a hawk. Liam gave her a small nod and walked away. That night, Liam couldn't stop thinking about the beast. He remembered the scars on its body, the way it limped slightly. It looked dangerous, yes, but it also looked tired. And alone, he felt something strange inside him, pity. He didn't know why, but he wanted to help it. The next day, he came back with a bucket, soap, and a soft brush. He waited until no one was around. Then slowly, he walked toward Cage 9. The beast growled low, a sound like thunder, but Liam didn't run. He sat just outside the cage and said softly, "I'm not here to hurt you." The beast didn't answer. Of course, but it didn't attack either. Carefully, Liam reached through the bars and let the brush touch the dirty fur. Nothing happened. He took a deep breath and started to wash a small part near the back leg. The soap foamed, white and clean, and then the beast let out a roar so loud it shook the ground. Liam fell back, heart pounding. Suddenly, the stable door burst open. The alien girl ran in, eyes wide with fear and anger. She screamed, "What did you do?" Her voice was sharp like glass. Liam stood up slowly. "I was just cleaning it." She looked at the soap, the brush, the suds still on the beast's fur. The beast was growling again, but it wasn't attacking. It stood still, watching both of them. The girl stepped closer and snapped, "That creature is not some pet. It is a war beast. My protector." Liam said nothing, just stared at the beast. Then the girl looked at the creature. Her voice softer now. "It only listens to me." The beast growled again, but softer this time, almost like a warning. She turned to Liam, confused and angry. "Why did it not tear you apart?" Liam shook his head. "I don't know." He picked up the bucket and started walking away. But before he reached the door, the beast let out a strange sound, not a growl, not a roar. It was a low hum, like a purr from deep within its chest. Liam turned to look. The beast had sat down, its red eyes calmer now, and the alien girl. She looked shaken, as if something important had just changed. She didn't say a word as Liam left, but her eyes stayed on him, full of questions, fear, and something else. That night, as Liam lay in his bed, he couldn't sleep. The image of the beast, the sound it made, and the girl's face, all stayed in his mind. Something had started. He didn't know what, but he knew one thing for sure. Tomorrow he would go back, the next morning. Liam returned to the stable before the sun had fully risen. The air was cold, the ground still wet from the night's rain. He walked slowly, hoping no one else was there. The memory of the beast's roar still rang in his ears, and the alien girl's sharp voice still echoed in his head. As he neared Cage 9, he stopped. The beast was awake, standing tall inside the cage. Its eyes locked onto him the moment he appeared. But it didn't growl. It didn't move either. It just waited. Liam sat down outside the bars and took out a small cloth. He didn't bring soap this time, just clean water. He dipped the cloth and reached forward, cleaning a patch of dried mud from the beast's shoulder. It didn't flinch. Its eyes slowly closed, like it accepted him now. But then, a quiet voice behind him broke the silence. "You should stop, human." Liam turned and saw her again, Nira. She was standing there, arms crossed, face unreadable. Her silver markings seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. "I didn't mean harm," Liam said calmly. She stepped forward, eyes never leaving him. "You don't understand what that creature is," she said. "It is not a pet, not a toy to clean and feed. It listens to me now." Liam replied, more softly than he meant to. "That's the problem," she snapped. "It's only supposed to listen to me." Liam stood up slowly, watching her carefully. "You're afraid," he said. Nira's jaw tightened. "I'm not afraid of you," she said coldly. "I'm afraid of what happens when it forgets who it is." Liam glanced back at the beast. It was still calm, still watching both of them. "He was hurt," Liam said. "No one helped him, because he doesn't need help," Nira shot back. "He was made to destroy, not to be comforted," Liam frowned. "But maybe that's why he needs it most." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Only the quiet breathing of the beast filled the space. Then Nira lowered her eyes and said something almost too soft to hear. "He only bonded to me because I saved him when he was young." Liam said nothing. "He was just a cub, bleeding, shaking. Left to die after a battle," she continued. "I gave him food, warmth, safety." She looked up, her voice trembling. "He was mine." The way she said it, there was pain there, not just fear, but the pain of losing something precious. "I'm not trying to take him from you," Liam said gently. Nira stepped closer, her eyes sharp again. "Then why is he following your voice now?" Before Liam could answer, the beast let out a low growl. Both turned quickly, but the growl wasn't angry, it was alert. The beast stared at the far corner of the stable. Something was there, something in the shadows. A sudden clang echoed from deep within the structure. Liam's heart jumped. Nira pulled a small blade from her belt, her body tense. "Stay here," she whispered, moving toward the sound. But the beast suddenly stepped forward, bumping its cage bars with its heavy head. It didn't like Nira going alone. Liam looked at her and said, "Let me come with you." She paused, eyes darting between him and the beast, then nodded once. Together they moved down the dark hallway, every step quiet. The sound came again, metal on metal, slow and dragging. When they turned the corner, they saw a shadow slipping out through a hole in the wall, gone in seconds. "What was that?" Liam whispered. "Someone watching," Nira said, "but not from our side." They both turned to head back, but Liam had one more question burning inside him. "Why were you watching me last night?" Nira hesitated, then she said simply, "Because he didn't kill you." She looked straight into Liam's eyes and added, "And I don't know if that's a good thing or not." As they returned to the cage, the beast let out a low rumble, then laid down. Its red eyes followed. Nira this time, but it blinked at Liam like it was calm. Nira stood outside the bars and placed a hand on the cage. "He's changing," she whispered, "and I don't know what he'll become." Liam placed his hand beside hers, just inches away. "Maybe he'll become something better," he said. Nira didn't respond, but she didn't walk away either. That night, someone in the shadows watched them again, but this time they weren't alone. The beast lifted its head and stared into the darkness, a low, warning growl rising. From its chest, something was coming, and the beast, no matter who it now listened to, was ready to defend them both. Long before the human came, the beast had another name. Not a name spoken in words, but a sound, a feeling, a bond. It was born in a pit of fire and noise. Among others bred for war, trainers beat it, starved it, and shaped it to kill without question. It had no mother, no kindness, no rest, only commands, cages, and pain. When it was still young, smaller than a lion but full of rage, it was thrown into battle. It fought machines, wild beasts, even its own kind, and every time it won, It was rewarded with food and more pain. Each scar on its body was a medal, each drop of blood a memory. It could not forget. Then came the day the sky turned red. The war spilled into Nira's home world. Her people ran, burned, died, and in that chaos, the beast was released by accident. It tore through soldiers and monsters alike, not caring who it killed. But then it found her. Nira was just a girl, no older than 10, hiding under the wreckage of her family's home. The beast stood over her, growling, its body shaking with bloodlust. She looked up, eyes wide with fear, holding a broken piece of fruit in her small hand. Without thinking, she offered it to him. The beast sniffed it and did not attack. Instead, it sat beside her, like a shadow refusing to leave. Nira didn't run. She touched its fur and whispered something it had never heard before. Not a command, not a threat, but a name. Ruvo, she had called him. He didn't understand it then, but something inside him changed. He followed her home, protected her from raiders, from cold nights, from hunger. And from that day on, they were never apart. Now years later, as she watched the human clean Ruvo's fur, her heart felt strange. It wasn't just jealousy, it was fear. Fear that her only family, the one who had always listened only to her, was slipping away. That evening, Nira walked alone to the training yard. Her boots echoed softly across the dusty ground. She remembered all the times she had stood there with Ruvo, teaching him to leap, to strike, to stand guard. She had raised him, turned him into a protector. But now, he obeyed a human. Behind her, soft footsteps approached. Liam, again. He didn't speak at first, just stood beside her. "You look like you're searching for answers," he said quietly. Nira didn't reply. She just stared at the moon above the yard, glowing behind thick clouds. "He was never meant to trust anyone but me," she finally said. "He still trusts you," Liam answered. "But maybe he's learning to trust others too." She turned toward him, her eyes cold. "I didn't save him so someone else could take him." Liam shook his head. "I'm not trying to take him," he said. "I just treat him like he matters." Nira flinched at those words. Did she treat him like a weapon instead of a soul? Was that why Ruvo's eyes seemed gentler around Liam? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the stable. They both ran, hearts racing. Inside, the cage was open, but Ruvo was still there, standing protectively in front of something. A small device sat on the ground, glowing red, humming with heat. A bomb. Someone had planted it inside the stable. Liam rushed to it, hands moving fast. He'd worked with explosives during the colony wars. Nira watched, shocked, as he disarmed it in seconds. Ruvo didn't move, just stood between Liam and the device, shielding him with his huge body. When it was over, Liam looked up, sweat on his brow. "Someone wants him dead," he said, breathing hard. Nira's hands were trembling. Ruvo turned and nuzzled Liam's shoulder, a low rumble in his throat. Nira's breath caught in her chest, that gentle sound. Ruvo had never made it for her. Later that night, Nira sat alone, staring at an old photo of herself and Ruvo when he was just a cub. Back when he'd hide behind her legs, when he was still afraid of thunder. Now he stood tall, brave, and loyal. But the loyalty seemed to shift. Was it because of Liam's touch? His kindness? Or had Ruvo simply grown beyond her reach? Nira closed her eyes, but sleep didn't come, because deep in her heart, she knew the real fear wasn't losing control. It was losing her only family, and outside her room, in the darkness, someone else was watching the stable again. This time, their eyes were not full of curiosity, they were full of greed. Because word had spread, the war beast had changed, and everyone wanted to know why. The night felt wrong. The stars above shimmered the same way they always did. Wind was still, and the stable was quiet, but something invisible moved through the shadows like poison in water. Liam had fallen asleep in the corner of the stable, next to Ruvo's cage, a light blanket over his shoulders, a small lamp flickering beside him. The beast was calm, its breathing slow and deep, but then its nose twitched. Its eyes opened in the dark, glowing red like coals. It did not growl, it waited. A shape slipped in through the back, silent as death, dressed in armor that bent light. The figure crouched low, carrying a silver needle the size of a blade, a tranquilizer, strong enough to drop a giant beast. The intruder moved closer, keeping to the walls, watching the human and the beast. He wasn't here for Liam. He was here for the prize Ruvo, the war beast worth a fortune. Liam stirred in his sleep. The hunter paused. Pulling back into the shadows, he pressed a button on his wristband. A small flash of red blinked. Someone far away was watching through his eyes. This wasn't just a mission, it was a test. The hunter stepped closer again. Now just feet away from the cage, he raised the needle gun, pointing it at Ruvo's neck. But before he could pull the trigger, a deep snarl filled the air. Liam sat up with a gasp, his eyes darting to the sound. He saw Ruvo standing, muscles tight, tail flicking, staring past him. "What is it?" Liam whispered. Then he saw it. A flash of metal in the dark. A glint of a visor, a shift in shadow. He didn't think. He leapt forward and tackled the figure just as the shot fired. The needle missed, shattering against the cage wall. The hunter grunted, pushing Liam off with inhuman strength. Liam crashed into the stable floor. The wind knocked out of him. The hunter stood over him, lifting a curved blade. But he never brought it down. A roar like thunder exploded behind him. Ruvo slammed against the cage wall, bending the thick bars outward. Another hit, and they cracked. Another, and they broke. The hunter turned just in time to see the beast leap. 10 feet of muscle and rage slammed into him, throwing him across the stable. Wood snapped, metal tore. The hunter rolled and sprang to his feet, blood on his chin. He aimed his gun butt. It was too late. Ruvo was faster. Claws met armor, and the hunter screamed. The fight was short, brutal, and loud. And then silence. The hunter lay still, breathing, but broken. Nira appeared at the stable door, her breath sharp, eyes wide. "What happened?" she shouted, running to Liam's side. He groaned and pointed at the hunter. He tried to take him. Nira looked at the cage, now shattered. Ruvo stood free, chest heaving, but calm. He walked past the unconscious hunter, past the broken bars. He sat beside Liam, eyes alert, body still. Nira stared, her voice low. "He broke his cage," Liam nodded. "To save me." She stepped closer, unsure. "Why would he do that for you?" Liam looked up at her bloody lip and awe. "I didn't chain him," he said. "You did." She opened her mouth to argue, then closed it. The truth hung heavy in the air. Later that night, guards came and took the hunter away. No one knew his name, but they found symbols on his armor, marks used by off-world poachers. Someone had placed a bounty on Ruvo's head. Someone wanted him captured alive. Nira stood in the cold with Liam beside her, watching the stars. "If they come once," she said. "They'll come again," Liam nodded. "Then we get ready." Ruvo stood between them, not behind Nira, not behind Liam, but beside both. The cage was broken, but something stronger had taken its place. A bond that could not be bought, chained, or stolen, and far beyond the stars. Someone rich and dangerous slammed their fist on a table. The war beast had escaped again. But this time it wasn't running. This time it had something to fight for. Days passed since the cage broke, but no one dared to rebuild it. Ruvo was free now, but he never ran. He stayed close to the stable, watching over it like a silent guardian. Some colonists whispered about the beast that broke iron but sat beside a human like a dog. Others stayed far away, afraid the creature might snap one day. But Liam wasn't afraid. Every morning, he greeted Ruvo with a smile, a clean cloth, and a few quiet words. At first, Nira watched from a distance, arms crossed, heart heavy. She didn't understand why Ruvo chose to rest at Liam's feet, or why his growls were now soft rumbles. She didn't understand why her voice no longer made him rise. But she saw something she hadn't seen before. Peace. One afternoon, Liam stood in the dusty training yard, Holding a thick rope, he tugged gently, trying to teach Ruvo a simple pull-and-stop game. Ruvo stared at him, head tilted, confused. Liam laughed. "Come on, you're smart. I know you can figure this out." Nira stepped forward from the edge of the yard. "You're wasting your time," she said. Liam smiled. "So help me then." For a moment, she didn't move then. With a small sigh, she walked over and stood beside him. She took the rope, gave a sharp whistle, and Ruvo's ears perked up. The beast walked forward slowly, pulled once, then stopped as she held up her hand. Liam's jaw dropped. "He still listens to you," Nira nodded. "Sometimes." That moment cracked something open. For the first time they trained him together, each command shared, each reward offered with a soft pat or a warm glance. Ruvo seemed to enjoy the game, bouncing with strange joy after each turn. His tail wagged, just a little, but it did. When the colony festival came, colorful lights were strung across the streets. Music echoed through the air. And for one evening, people forgot their fears. Liam walked through the crowd with Nira beside him. Ruvo followed closely, his large form drawing nervous stares. "It's okay," Liam told the townspeople. "He won't hurt anyone." Children hid behind parents. But a few curious ones peeked out. One brave girl reached out her hand, and Ruvo gently sniffed it. The girl giggled, and the crowd's fear began to melt. But then, the fireworks started. The first explosion cracked the sky. Bright red flames lit the darkness, followed by booming sound. Ruvo's body stiffened, his ears flattened. Another boom. Louder this time, he roared, eyes wide with panic, and charged through the crowd. People screamed and scattered. Tables flipped. Lights crashed. To the ground, Nira ran after him, shouting his name. "Ruvo! Stop!" But he didn't listen. He crashed into a booth, knocking it over. His breathing fast and wild, she reached him, placed her hands on his side, but he pushed past her, lost in fear. Then Liam stepped in front of him. He held up both hands, calm and steady. "Ruvo," he said gently, "it's okay. It's just noise." The beast froze. Its eyes locked onto Liam, body trembling. Another firework exploded, but this time, Ruvo didn't run. He lowered his head and walked slowly to Liam's side, pressing his massive body against him. Everyone stared, silent. The lights from the festival flickered over the trio, human, alien, and beast. Someone whispered, "It listens to him now." Nira stood frozen, her heart breaking and healing at the same time. Later, she sat with Liam on a quiet bench away from the noise. "Do you think he's forgetting me?" she asked softly. Liam shook his head. "No." "And why does he follow you?" "Because I showed him he could be more than a weapon," he said, "and you gave him the strength to survive. But now he's learning how to live." She looked at Ruvo, sleeping peacefully at their feet. "I thought I was losing him." "You're not," Liam said. "We're sharing him now." The wind blew gently across the fields. The night was quiet again, but far from the colony, deep in the dark forests, a new figure watched from high in the trees. He held a hollow image in his hand. Ruvo, standing beside the human, he smiled, sharp and cruel, and whispered, "Found you." The sickness came without warning. Ruvo had seemed fine just hours before, strong, alert, even playful. But now he was lying in the shade near the stable, breathing hard, his fur slick with sweat. Liam noticed it first, the way Ruvo didn't rise when he approached. He knelt beside him and placed a hand on the beast's side. It was burning hot. "Something's wrong," Liam said, his voice tight. Nira ran over and dropped to her knees. She looked into Ruvo's eyes, touched his ears, checked his tongue. Her face went pale. "I've seen this before," she whispered. "When I was a child." "What is it?" Liam asked. "His body is rejecting the old treatments. The war serums they injected into him during battle training," she explained. "It happens sometimes. And when it starts, it spreads fast." Liam clenched his fists. "What do we do?" "There's only one cure," she said slowly. "A rare root that grows in the far wild lands." He looked at her. "How far?" 3 days if we go fast, but the lands are dangerous, even for trained hunters. I'm going, Liam said immediately. Nira looked at him, surprised. You don't have to. I do, he said. Because he saved me. They left. That night, packing supplies and weapons, Ruvo stayed behind under the care of an old healer, too weak to stand. Before leaving, Liam knelt beside the beast, resting a hand on his shoulder. Stay strong, he said. We'll bring it back. Ruvo let out a soft whimper and closed his eyes. The wild lands were silent and full of strange colors. The sky was red during the day and glowing green at night. The trees had twisting trunks, and the ground was never flat. More than once, Liam nearly fell into hidden pits or stepped on sleeping creatures. Nira moved ahead like she belonged there, silent, sharp-eyed, focused. Liam kept pace, his mind on the beast. They didn't speak much, but one night, as they sat near a small fire, Nira finally asked, "Why do you care so much about him?" Liam stared at the flames. "I used to be a soldier," he said. "I've seen too many like him used, broken, left behind." Nira nodded slowly, understanding more than she let on. The next morning, they reached the cliff of mist below. The glowing root grew in small bunches near a blue stream, but guarding the stream was a pack of skinless hounds, red, fast and always hungry. Liam gripped his blade. "We can't fight all of them." "We don't have to," Nira whispered. Pulling out a vial of beast scent, she poured it on a stone and tossed it far to the left. The hounds chased it instantly, giving them a short window. They ran down the path, gathered the root, and turned to leave, but one of the hounds returned too fast. It leapt from a high ledge. Claws out, Liam pushed Nira out of the way and took the hit. The claws ripped across his side, throwing him into the rocks. Nira screamed and pulled out her blade, standing over him. She fought like lightning, fast and furious. She struck the hound again and again until it fell. Then she dropped beside Liam, blood on her hands. His breathing was shallow, his face pale. "Stay awake," she begged, holding his head in her lap. "You're going to be fine," he smiled faintly. "Is this the part where you tell me I was right about Ruvo?" She laughed through her tears. Yes, you were right." Then her face grew serious again. "You can't die," she said. "Not now." They wrapped his wounds and moved as fast as they could. The journey back was slow, painful, but they ate it. As they entered the stable, the healer looked up and gasped. Ruvo lifted his head weakly, sensing them. Nira crushed the root, mixed it with the silver paste, and fed it to him carefully. For hours they waited in silence. Then Ruvo let out a deep sigh and rolled onto his side. The heat faded from his skin. He was alive. Liam slept for 2 days, his body healing. When he awoke, Ruvo was beside his bed, resting quietly. And Nira was there too, holding his hand. "You brought him back," she said softly. Liam shook his head. "We did." Outside, the stars shifted across the sky. But deep in the void beyond their world, someone else was moving. The man who had tracked Ruvo once before now had a new plan, and this time, he wasn't coming alone. The sun rose quietly over the colony, but the peace was a lie. Birds flew in sharp circles. Animals hid deep in their burrows. Even the air felt tighter, as if the world itself was holding its breath. Liam stood near the edge of the stable, his arm still bandaged but strong enough to hold a weapon again. Nira stood beside him, checking her blade and whispering quiet commands into her come. And Ruvo sat in the center of the yard, watching the horizon without blinking. He was fully healed now, stronger than ever, but changed. He didn't roar, didn't pace. He waited, calm and steady, like a king ready for battle. They all knew it was coming. The hunter who failed the first time had returned, this time with others. A full squad of poachers, all armed with traps, nets, and stun guns built to stop even war beasts. And this time they had ships. Liam and Nira had warned the town, but most of the colonists fled. Only a few stayed to help, those who had seen what Ruvo truly was. Not a weapon, not a monster, but family. The ground trembled before the ships arrived. They came low, black and silent, shaped like knives in the sky. They landed outside the colony gate, dust flying in every direction. Dozens of armored figures stepped out, cold and faceless, and behind them walked the hunter, the same one Ruvo had nearly torn apart. He still carried the scar across his face, now covered in metal. He grinned as he saw Ruvo standing free. "I gave you a chance," he shouted. "You should have stayed in chains," Ruvo growled, but didn't move. Liam raised his voice. "He belongs to no one now," the hunter laughed. "Then we'll take him by force." The first net flew fast, powered by sonic lines meant to drain strength. Ruvo jumped, spinning in the air and tearing through it like paper. The poachers charged forward, weapons buzzing and crackling. But Nero was faster, slicing through the first attacker with a move so sharp. He didn't fall until she was already gone. Liam ducked low, swinging a staff he built himself, knocking another man off his feet. Ruvo slammed his body into a cluster of poachers, sending them flying like toys. The fight was wild blades against claws, guns against heart, but the trio moved like one. Every time Liam fell back, Ruvo shielded him. Every time Ruvo was surrounded, Nira opened the path. They had no commander, no plan, only trust. At one point, the hunter aimed a heavy cannon directly at Liam's chest. Nira screamed, but before the trigger was pulled, Ruvo leapt in front of him. The blast hit, sending Ruvo flying backward into the dirt. For a moment, everything stopped. Liam ran to him, falling to his knees. Blood soaked Ruvo's side, his breathing shallow. The hunter stepped forward slowly. "Even beasts break," he said, lifting the cannon again. But this time, he didn't get to fire. Nira appeared behind him in a blink, her blade at his neck. He froze. "Touch him again," she said, her voice low and deadly. "And I'll remind you what real fear feels like." Liam stood, his face calm. "You should leave," he added. "While you still can." The hunter looked at them both, then at the beast that was already rising again. Ruvo stood on shaky legs, growled low, and took a step forward. That was enough. The hunter gave the signal, and the remaining poachers retreated, dragging their wounded and broken pride with them. When they were gone, silence returned. The stable was in ruins, the yard torn, but the trio stood tall. Later, Ruvo lay under the stars, bandaged but content. Nira leaned against him, one hand resting on his warm fur. Liam sat nearby, carving a small wooden figure. It looked like the beast. "You know," Nira said, "when I first saw you touch him, I thought I'd lose him." Liam looked up. "And now?" She smiled. "Now I know he was never mine to keep." Liam placed the carving in her hand. "No," he said, "he's ours." Above them, stars moved slowly. Peace had returned for now, but this time it felt real, not because the danger was gone, but because they were ready for whatever came next. Three hearts, once alone, now bound by fight, trust, and care. The girl, the human, and the beast, unbreakable.